Hello, County Historians, and welcome to our first County Historian training module, which will provide an overview of the County Historian program. I'm Jeannette Rooney. I'm the Assistant Director for Local History Services at the Indiana Historical Society. I manage the County Historian program along with some of the other work that I do there. And I'll be presenting this module, which is the first of 4 modules for the County Historian program. In Module 2, Tamara and I will discuss handling difficult topics. The Indiana Historical Bureau, who co-sponsors the program, will present modules 3 and 4, which will cover a lot of information about research, resources, writing, including social media and more. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about different aspects of the County Historian program. We'll start first with the logic model that we developed that helped us to clarify what the intended outcomes of the County Historian program are. Then I'll cover the County Historian Guidebook, including some updates that we made in 2020, and we'll get into the job descriptions, some key responsibilities, including some notes about interaction with the public and local history organizations. We'll talk about the standards of conduct and the code of ethics, appointment and retirement procedures, recording contacts, surveys and reports, and then we'll talk about some additional resources that are available. Okay, let's start with a little background. The County Historian program was started in 1981, and it was started to help improve historical communication across the state. The program was and still is a partnership between the Indiana Historical Society, which is a private nonprofit organization. You can see the image there on the left, and the Indiana Historical Bureau. They're a state agency that's part of the Indiana State Library, and their building is there on the right. Our locations are located sort of kitty corner from each other on Ohio Street in downtown Indianapolis near the canal. The staff of the Local History Services Department at the Indiana Historical Society, where I work, administers the program together with the staff of the Indiana Historical Bureau. Now, I'd like to talk for just a minute about a little more detail for why we have a County Historian program and what we hope the impacts are. A logic model is a tool for helping plan the different aspects of a program, from the inputs or resources needed to the more tangible work to be done, and then the immediate results and longer term outcomes and impact. For the County Historian program, you see we need the basic inputs of staffing, funding, and various resources. And then the activities we undertake to manage the program include processing appointments, retirement, providing training like these modules, planning roundtables and meetings, and making sure you have all of the supplies that you need, including up-to-date news and resources, the County Historian Guide, and then any additional support that may be needed. Then the direct outputs of these activities pertain to delivering these resources to you so that you have available what you need to do the work that you do. It also involves us regularly staying in contact so that we can continue to measure the success of the program. Then we look at the midterm outcomes. These are what we hope the County Historian program will accomplish. That county historians occupy a position of trust in each county, are helping people to connect with history resources, and more activities that all go into making the program successful. Finally, we look at longer term impacts of the County Historian program. These are the elements that help us determine the difference that is made by all of your work. Essentially, the work that you all do contributes to a stronger history field in Indiana, and we're really proud of everything that you accomplish. I wanted to share the logic model with you so you can see what we see, which is that your work really matters and everything you do is working towards these long-term impacts. Now, each of you should have a copy of the County Historian Guide, which we updated this year in 2020. All of the elements of the County Historian program and lots of resources are listed in the guide, so I'm not going to go over it in incredible detail, but we'll talk about some of the different aspects of the program and look at why we have these guidelines in place. And then we'll end by looking at some of the resources available. So I want to start off with the new job description. You might wonder why we need a job description. This is something that we recommend for all volunteer positions at nonprofits, and the County Historian Program is no different. So first, the job description helps us share the purpose of the program. If you remember when I mentioned the history of the program, I said the initial purpose was to improve historical communication across the state, and this is still true today. County historians serve as volunteers to promote local history, to connect people with historical resources, to promote collaboration in their counties, and to maintain connections with us here at the Indiana Historical Society and the Indiana Historical Bureau. The job description also helps to clarify the role and responsibilities and the expectations of the position, and serves as a solid basis for outlining the position for new nominees. The responsibilities are pretty straightforward and tie into the purpose of the program. First is responding to inquiries and connecting with local history organizations, which I'll get into in a little bit more detail here in just a minute. One note that I want to reiterate, as county historian, you may choose to fulfill research requests for the public, but that's not a requirement of the County Historian Program, so that's entirely up to you. Our only requirement is that our main requirement, I should say, is that you connect people with resources. You can choose to do additional research or not at your discretion. You may also want to undertake research for projects that are of interest to you, and that's perfectly fine. It's important for county historians to also follow their interests and work towards history projects that interest them for their counties. We'd love it if you kept in touch with us at the Indiana Historical Society and the Indiana Historical Bureau as well. And one of the ways to do that is through your regular reports and filling out the annual survey, which helps us make the case for the County Historian Program and the impact that you all have through the work that you do around the state, which is so important. It's also beneficial to try and attend as many of the county historian meetings as you can when we have them again in person. So that you can meet and hear from your fellow county historians about the great work that they're doing. We do understand that you can't always make it, but if you can, we'd love to see you. There are a few other responsibilities for county historians that may come up from time to time, including reporting on the condition of historic markers, maybe providing input on the disposition of public records, and then keeping up with what's happening locally. In addition to these, there are many, many amazing programs and works that you all undertake, and you can engage in the activities that interest you and serve your community. We really appreciate all the work you do, and I have to say, I truly enjoy seeing all of the amazing things that you all are involved in. Okay, I want to talk for just a minute about some of the key aspects of the program responsibilities, which is working with the public. First, responding to inquiries. Essentially, think of this as providing customer service to connect people with resources. There are a few tips I can give to help make things go as smooth as possible. First, I will note, no matter what email service provider, sometimes legitimate emails will end up in the spam or the junk mail folders. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on those pretty regularly, to watch for any inquiries that may have come in but gotten placed in spam. Now, even if something looks legitimate, you still want to be careful. I don't suggest clicking on any links or opening any attachments unless you're absolutely sure they're from a reliable source or a correct individual. And respond promptly to all inquiries. If you need some time to find the answer, it's perfectly fine. Just give the person an approximate idea of how long it will take you to get back to them. For phone calls, it's always important to listen and take notes. Jot down their name and any pertinent details to help you find the resources that will help them. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay too. There are many times when I don't have the answer. Just be honest and direct them to an individual or organization that might be able to find the answer for them or help them find the answer if one is possible. So in order to best serve the public and answer inquiries, you really need to have strong connections in your county. I know that counties in Indiana vary a great deal, so this might be a larger task for some of you than others. If you're in a county with, say, several 100,000 people spread across multiple urban centers, towns, rural areas, it's really important to not just focus on the city where you live or on the county seat, but to make and maintain those connections throughout the entire county and all the different communities. So get to know all of the history organizations, all the libraries and archives in your county, and make sure they get to know you as well and know that they can get in touch with you. It's also a good idea to keep up with what's happening in your county and get to know local government, local businesses, city and county events that are happening. When a new county historian is appointed or a county historian is reappointed to a new term, we send out letters to the government entities to let them know, but it's still important for you to get to know them as well. And then consider what role you can fill in your community. If you already have strong historical organizations that are doing a lot of work, maybe you can work with them to provide extra support. There are many organizations that you might be able to fill a role as a connection that helps them to collaborate. If there really isn't an organization that's doing a lot of history in your county or a specific part of your county, maybe you can start to provide some historical context and stories through the media. Your counties and your local resources are all unique and you know them best. So spend a little time getting to know all the corners of your area, of your county, and figure out how you can best serve your communities there. Now, one other important aspect of the county historian position is to help connect the history organizations in your county. Some of you may only have one history organization, or you may have many, but either way, even if you're more closely associated with a particular organization, it's very important to maintain good connections with all of the local history organizations in your county, as your service is really to them as well. And one of the best things that you can do is help bridge some connections between them. Now, I know that not all organizations may want to work with other organizations outside their communities, and that's fine. But in any case, it's still good for you to get to know each of them so you have a feel what's going on at different points around your county. If you're working on building communication with local history organizations, here are just a few tips. First, be patient. It takes time to build trust and open lines of communication. Sometimes that can take a good while, so patience is really key. And then remember to consider common goals, which generally means that everyone is really working towards the shared goal of promoting and sharing history. Then think about the values that serve the community and what's best for the audience or the public community. And then demonstrate the benefits of open communication, which can help reduce duplication of effort. It can open us up to potential partnerships that may have a better opportunity to reach more audiences and tell a more complete history. Okay, so going back to the main job description, let's look at qualifications for becoming a county historian. The qualifications are ones that you're likely already familiar with and carry out. So primarily being interested in local history, being willing to learn and available for contact, including by email, willing to travel within the county if possible. And of course, I know you already know this, but being courteous and professional. And then to end out the job description, we have the additional details about the county historian position. So the appointment term, county historians are appointed to 3-year terms and can be reappointed for additional terms. And we'll get into that more here in just a couple minutes. County historians can retire at any time they wish to. For the time commitment, because we know from looking at your annual surveys that it varies widely, we try to share what the minimum might be, although we know that a good many of you spend a great deal more time than this doing the work of the county historian. So, but we figure at minimum, probably about an hour a week, if not more. For the support, I believe you're all already aware of the resources available to you, but you have stationery, business cards, address labels, and the tracking sheets. which we'll look at in a little bit more detail later. You should also be receiving the monthly e-newsletter in your inbox each month. But if you aren't, please check your spam or junk mail and mark it as safe. And then if you still don't find it there, contact me so we can make sure that we have the correct email address on file for you. One other thing to note here, it says that you'll receive a county historian name badge in your guidebook. I want to share that those are still coming and you'll get them next year. We ordered the supplies for those and started working with our designer just before COVID-19 started. So we haven't been able to finish them yet, but I want you to know that they're still in the works. And then finally, for benefits, you receive a complimentary membership to the Indiana Historical Society for the duration of your county historian appointment. And the position gives you connections with resources, news, and your network of fellow county historians across the state. Okay, I want to talk for just a minute about the standards of conduct, and then we'll look at the code of ethics. Both elements of these are important for several different reasons. First, the standards of conduct are important for more internal HR reasons. These standards align with what we expect of our staff and volunteers at the Indiana Historical Society and the Indiana Historical Bureau. They share some of the basic elements of customer service and commitment to the program, as well as noting our non-discrimination policy and what to do if any issues arise. The Code of Ethics is also outlined in your guide. It was drafted to bring the Indiana County Historian Program more in alignment with the codes of ethics shared by the National Council on Public History and the American Historical Association. And we've included links to the full text of those in the guide if you'd like to explore them a little more fully. Essentially, what these boil down to is keeping the public trust. The public trusts historians and history organizations, and the values shared for the County Historian Program in the Code of Ethics show that we value that trust and hold ourselves to high standards of integrity in the work of history. The Code of Ethics describes how county historians practice the work with integrity. A lot of the details for how to do this work will be gone into in a little bit more depth in the next 3 modules after this initial training module. The Code of Ethics also gives a brief description of navigating sensitive issues, which we'll cover a lot more in Module 2. It also mentions avoiding conflicts of interest, which some items that align with the same standards, our staff at the Indiana Historical Society, we also agree to follow, and we sign a statement for that each year. So the standards and the conflicts of interest are pretty standard for history organizations. Okay, so for the county historian appointment and retirement procedures, these are just described in the guide so that all the county historians can have a clearer picture of sort of how the process works. As I noted earlier, each county historian is appointed to a 3-year term. Those terms are set for each county. So if a county historian retires midterm and a new county historian is appointed in that county, they will serve out the remainder of the existing term. So that could be the next 2.5 years, or it could be the next 6 months. It's set for each county. So once that term is up, then they'll be up for reappointment. So because of the set terms, each year approximately 30 or so county historians are up for reappointment. We begin the process in the fall, and then the county historians who are reappointed begin their new term at the beginning of the year. One new thing that we've added in 2020 is the County Historian Emeritus Program. In the past, we've heard from several county historians who retired, but still really wanted to keep in touch and hear about what's happening in local history. So County Historian Emeriti can still receive the update newsletter, can attend county historian meetings, and can serve as a mentor to the incoming county historian for their county. Another new element in 2020 is the county historian mentors. We found it might be helpful for new county historians who might not be able to be in contact with the previous county historian to have an experienced historian who they can get guidance from and ask questions of. So if you'd like to become a mentor, please contact me and I'll put you on the list to be connected with a new county historian. For the resources, we've already talked a little bit about the resource materials in the membership and the County Historian Update e-newsletter, but I also wanted to briefly touch on a few other resources available to you. In addition to the monthly County Historian e-newsletter, Local History Services, we also have a couple of other e-newsletters that might be of interest. We have a weekly e-newsletter called Communique Online. That one's geared towards local history organizations. It contains news from our office, upcoming training and funding opportunities, articles for museums, news related to history and museums, programs and events, all kinds of things. It comes out every Friday morning in email. Our other e-newsletter, Collections Advisor, goes out on the 1st of the month, and that one each month contains a different topic pertaining to collections care in museums. One other resource is our Lending Resource Center. So in Local History Services, we have a small library of books related to the work of museums, as well as collections care, oral history, and other topics. You can borrow these at no charge. Just contact us and we'll mail them to you. And you can find more details about that process in the guidebook. You can also join the County Historian Facebook group if you would like. Just email me if you're interested and I'd be happy to add you. And then we have trainings, which began with the new modules this year, and we'll add to those in future years. So earlier I mentioned recording contacts as a part of your responsibilities to help with reporting to, and then also to help us determine the outcomes in the reach of the program. You should have all received the Excel spreadsheet version of the contact tracking sheet by email. And I want to say thank you to the county historians who beta tested it and provided feedback. We also included a printable version in your guide, so if you prefer, you can use that one instead. The elements of the printable versions are shown here. So on the left, you'll see the sheet you can use to track in-depth contacts. And then at the end of each week, you would enter the total numbers from those sheets into the larger tracking sheet on the right, which has enough rows for an entire year. Essentially, the contact tracking sheets are there to help you keep track of the contacts you have with the public and to be helpful when recording the numbers on your annual survey. The reason for tracking these numbers is because we use them to keep a record of the program and the impact for the work you do. The tracking sheets can also be helpful to help you see records of your own work or to use as a reference as needed. Now, the Excel sheet and these printable ones are a base for starting, but if there's other things you wish to record as well, please feel free to expand on them and adapt them to your own use. Now, the annual survey will be the same as before. We do tweak it a little bit each year. You receive it early in the year, and it deals with data from the previous year's total. So the reason we do the survey is to measure the success of the program. So we ask a lot of the same questions each year so that we can see trends over time. We share the results with you, and then we report the information also to our board and leadership. So it's really important we get all your surveys so we have accurate data about the program. So one new thing we're going to introduce is a biannual report. This will be starting next summer. It's a less formal report every 6 months of what you've been working on and whether there are any updates to the contact information for your county's history organizations. This will help us to report more often and in more detail on the impact of the County Historian Program, and it will help us in sharing resources among county historians. To help you find these resources, we've provided a listing of the statewide organizations in Indiana, along with the notes about whether they're a state agency or a private nonprofit, what they do, and some links to important resources they have. These are listed alphabetically by the organization name. And you can see a sample here. One other thing I want to point your attention to, it's at the top of page 18 in your county historian guide. There's a link to the directory of county historians and history organizations that are maintained by our local history services department. You can go to this page, click on a county, and then find the county historians and all of the county history organizations for that county listed. Each county has the county historian listed first, followed by the organizations in alphabetical order. If you go to your county and you see something listed there that's incorrect, please contact us with the updated information and we'll get it fixed on our website. So lastly, in the County Historian Guide, you'll find resources section by topic. The topics are alphabetical, and under each you'll find the Indiana resources followed by the national resources if available. It can be a good idea to take some time to look through these and really familiarize yourself with what's out there and what's available. So for example, if you're looking for resources on the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which is known as NAGPRA, you could go to that section and then you'll first find the Indiana resources, including the Indiana Archaeology Mandates and Laws and the Indiana Native American Indian Affairs Commission, and then a little bit more information about what each of those organizations is, as well as links to them. And then after that, you would find the national resources. So the National Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act main page, the Association on American Indian Affairs, and then the National Congress of American Indians with information and links to all of those. So as you're going through them, if you have any questions about the resources, please feel free to let me know. Oh, and here's an example of the NAGPRA site. So you can take a look at this. This is what I mean by we have the statewide resources listed first, followed by the national resources. Okay, so I want to end this module by saying a heartfelt thank you to all of you for all the work you do. We really appreciate your contributions to local history, and we know it takes a lot for all the work that you do, so thank you very much. Now, if you have any questions, you can always contact me or Tamara or Michelle at the Historical Bureau, and then please join us for the additional 3 county historian training modules. So thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.